Og så fik vi så rundet Sony-boksen en lille smule af her med Elian Elias med nummeret Doralicia. Det er den, de fleste kender med Stan Getz og Astrid Gilberto og de gode folk der. Stan og Astrid, som de bare hed i vores familie. Ja, du lytter til Radio Jazz 102.9 FM og Radio Jazz.dk. Og som jeg troede med før, så skulle der komme nye gæster, og de er kommet, og de sidder her. Og det drejer sig om en ny CD, og jeg vil gerne sige velkommen. Jeg skal lige sige, at primært taler vi engelsk her, fordi vi har en islandsk saxofonist. Og mit islandske er ikke stærk nok til, at jeg kan underholde med det. Jeg kan lidt, men det er ikke meget. Så vi kører det lidt engelsk. Men velkommen, Søren Dahl Jeppesen.
Mange tak.
And you have brought your friend, yes. Oskar Gudjónsson.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
It's always nice to be in Denmark.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Are you here often?
Yes. Since I met Søren, I'm here at least once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And before that, because of my relationship and playing with Mezzo Forte, we were playing here at least once a year.
Mm.
And yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit about Mezzo Forte in a while, but first of all, we're going to talk about the album Pipe Dreams.
Yes.
Which has both of you on the album. But where did you meet each other in the beginning?
We met the first time in 2009. I had heard a CD with Oskar that he recorded in 2001 with the Skolisvæsen. And I had heard that CD, and then I met another Icelandic guy on this Vælikidestævne. And I asked him, do you know this guy, Oskar, that plays brilliant saxophone? And he did, and he gave me...
Was it Flosason you met? Or?
I think it was Ari. Ari
Okay.
Brei. Yeah, it's a young trumpet player who's been studying in Juilliard.
Yeah.
And he knew Oskar and said, yeah, you can call him, he's a nice guy. And then I did, and asked if he would do the first record with me.
Yeah.
And we did that, and it was out in 2010. It's called Route 1.
So this is your third album in 3 years.
Yeah.
Which is very unusual.
Yeah, I guess.
But congratulations with this.
Thank you very much.
We're going to listen to something right away, because it's always good to begin with some music. And we have promised our listeners to play some music once in a while.
That's a good idea.
So, yeah. So all our listeners will now be listening to Insomnia. Insomnia.
Yeah.
Could you tell a little bit about that?
It means sleepless. It's just a very sleepy song. Our songs are mostly very down, and the tempo is very it's very slow and very quiet music. So it reminded me about being sort of sleepless in a way.
Og udover Søren Dahl på Jeppesen på guitar og Oskar Gudjónsson på sax, så er det så Claus Nørgaard på bas, Jakob Højer trommer og Simon Trøjdam piano. Og den hedder altså Insomnia. Her lyttede vi så til Søren Dahl Jeppesens nye CD, hvor han er sammen med Oskar Gudjónsson. Begge er i studiet nu. CD'en hedder Pipe Dreams, og mit navn er stadigvæk Rohde Nielsen, Ole Agersbæk i teknikken, og vi er i gang med denne plade. Og and like I said before, to make sure that all the guests here understand the same thing, we speak English for a little while, which is very nice. We try to.
Yeah.
Have you always played the saxophone?
Well, I started playing a little bit piano, but then I learned a little bit of drums.
Drums?
Yeah.
But then you found out that there was another drummer on Iceland already, so you couldn't go on. Yeah.
There was no sax player. I found out that, so I started playing the saxophone.
Yeah.
I actually, my beginning career of playing saxophone is related to just seeing a kind of a Dixieland band playing. I was with my family at like an outdoor festival in Iceland. There was like a Dixieland band, and I saw the saxophone, and I nagged my parents like, I have to play this instrument. I'd never seen it before live. I'm not so sure I'd seen it before on TV or anything. So I went to the music school, and the music school said, "No, you're too young, you're too small, you can't do it." And I said, "Yeah, I can. Come on, let me try." So, I basically nagged my way into
Mozart was 3 years old when he started. Well, he didn't play the saxophone, but
no.
Which mainly is because the saxophone was not invented at Mozart's time. That's the main reason. Well, that's another story. That's another story.
So
and you have been on many albums since you were quite young and up to now.
Yeah, I'm
still very old now.
I'm still quite young.
Quite young.
In my mind, I am.
How old are you?
I'm 38.
Well,
so
some people.
There's still some time left.
Yeah, I hope so. Back to Søren. The inspiration for your compositions, where does it come from?
I'd actually say the main compositional inspiration would be Jan Johansson, I'd say.
Yeah?
Yeah, as I keep my focus on the melody, and I try to keep it pretty simple, and just try to create a sort of a vibe that...
So you listen more to his figures and...
and his very simple melodies. Yeah, and then I also listen to a lot of classical music, Bach, for example, or and also actually a lot of rock music. During my education, I've been since I was 16 or so, I've been brought up with I've been listening to jazz music a long way. Yeah, of course.
But you can play a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I mostly I try to listen to a lot of different genres. Yeah.
Og det Søren fortæller, det er, at jeg regner med, alle er med. Du gik jo også og jammede på Ben J, da du var helt ung.
Det er rigtigt, hvis vi lige skal slå i dansk. Ja. Det er rigtigt.
We do that because we already talked about it before. Do you remember Ben J?
Ja. Det er skam, at jeg er så dårlig at snakke dansk.
Ja. Have some Coca-Cola.
Ja.
Ja, det er rigtigt. Jeg er fra Aarhus, og der var der den berømte jazzbar Ben J, hvor der var jam session hver fredag eftermiddag. Og det er jo sådan den bedste uddannelse, man kan få som ung musiker.
Helt bestemt.
I Aarhus, i hvert fald på det tidspunkt, hvor jeg voksede op. Og så får man lov til at spille med de lidt ældre, som kan lære en nogle nye tricks og nogle nye standards og sådan noget. Og så
er der andre af dem, der kommer jammet, som vi kender i dag? Altså, er de unge der?
Det er der helt givetvis. Nu skal jeg lige se, om jeg kan finde på nogen.
Ja, det var måske sidst for aften.
Claus Nørgaard, som jeg spiller med, som spiller bas, han var også med fra den periode der. Ja, jeg vil tro, alle, der har boet i Aarhus, har været forbi Ben J på et eller andet tidspunkt.
Ja, det vil jeg tro.
Ja.
Og nu skal Ben J jo vist ved at blive genopført nu i den gamle by.
Ja.
Sten for sten, stort set.
Ja.
Så det bliver da spændende.
Ja, det er også bevaringsværdigt.
Det må også være et godt spillested stadigvæk at kunne lave. Der må der komme til at foregå en masse ting.
Ja, det kan man håbe.
I Ben J's ånd.
Det kan man håbe.
Ja. Yeah, we were just talking about one of the old
jazz clubs
in Aarhus. But let's pick another tune from the album Pipe Dreams.
The next tune is called Fallback, and it has a quite unusual story because usually we do 2 or 3 takes of each individual track. I don't know if it was this one we couldn't really figure out how we wanted it to sound. So I think we have 14 takes of this one.
Okay.
And what is more unusual is that it's the last take that ended up on the CD. Usually it's the first take that's the best. That's what you usually say.
This is a song that has a very special character, and actually for me it was so fun to play. I could have played it 14 or 50 more times. Yeah. It was actually me saying all the time, let's do another take. Everybody had gotten totally bored of playing this, but there was something in the song that I could play forever.
Yeah. Yes, but each take can be good in some way.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And actually, I think it's just it's a matter of taste also, and a matter of how you're brought up about 1, 2, and 3 takes and getting bored and stuff like that.
But the customers who will buy this album, they will not notice at all whether it's take 5 or 8.
I hope not.
They will notice the dedication and care it's put into this special take. I think everybody can hear it.
Så hvorfor siger vi ikke bare take it away? så fik vi endnu et spor fra den nye CD, Pipe Dreams med Søren Dahl Jeppesen. Og det er jo sådan, at i morgen, der er der jo officiel release på denne her.
Det er rigtigt.
Og du skal næsten lige fortælle lidt om det arrangement.
Ja, vi spiller nede på Copenhagen Jazz House i morgen aften kl. 20. Og vi spiller det her musik live for første gang, og det ser vi rigtig meget frem til.
Ja.
Vi har faktisk et par koncerter mere, som jeg lige kan nævne også, hvis der skulle være nogle lyttere med fra Aarhus for eksempel.
Vi har lyttere med i hvert fald i hele landet.
Ja. Vi spiller på Aarhus Studenterhus på onsdag, og så spiller vi på Jazzklub Buddha, der ligger i Hillerød på fredag.
Så det bliver sådan 3, og så lidt under jazzfestivalen, håber jeg.
Det håber jeg også. Det må vi lige. Det ved jeg faktisk ikke nogen af.
Der har ikke er ikke blevet orienteret på, om vi skal spille?
Nej, altså ikke så vidt jeg ved. Altså, okay. Det kan også være, at jeg bare ikke skal spille. Ja. Men nu får vi se. Jeg håber, der kommer lidt. Og
med dig selv har du så hele besætningen her?
Ja, hele besætningen er med på de kommende koncerter. Ja. Der er faktisk også en violinist med på et par numrene på pladen, men han er altså ikke med til koncerterne, kan man sige. Men numrene her er skrevet sådan... Det er ikke de samme 5, der spiller på alle numre. Nogle af numrene er i trio-format, og nogle er i duo-format, og så videre. Så er der lagt stryger på nogle af dem også.
Ja. Men det kan altså opleves i morgen i København her klokken 20. Var det sådan, det var?
Ja, på Jazz House.
Ja. And together with you also tomorrow is the saxophone player. And there might be some listeners who are familiar with the band Mezzoforte.
Yeah.
And you are also familiar with the band Mezzoforte.
I am.
Yeah.
I've been playing with them on and off since '96.
17 years, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically there was a period from 2002 until 2006. I didn't play with them. So it's 2 6-year periods I've done with them because I actually split from Mezzoforte last year. End of last year was my last year for now with Mezzoforte. So one of my last concerts with them was actually a fantastic concert in Copenhagen Jazz House.
Okay.
We played in I think November or October last year. So there's a Swedish saxophone player now with them.
Yeah. Now this is a band that I've been listening to since when I was a teenager.
Yeah, I mean they formed when I was 3.
Yeah.
In '77 they started jamming together, and I was I think still in diapers.
There was one particular number which was a huge hit in this country and everywhere.
Yeah, it's a song I played every concert with Mezzoforte.
Absolutely.
That's the last song.
It hit America also, wasn't it?
It hit America in a different way, I think, because it was suggested for the A&M company as a single.
Yeah.
And but one of the owners decided actually to do it himself.
So ladies and gentlemen, mine damer og herrer, må jeg have lov at bede vores udmærkede tekniker Ole Agersbæk om at starte grammofonen, for nu skal vi nemlig høre Garden Party fra 1985, Mezzoforte. Albummet hed Surprise, Surprise, og her fik vi så maxi-single-versionen på 45 omdrejninger, som den jo altså kom der midt i 80'erne. Søren, you talked about...
Yeah.
Let's just hear...
That's true.
I just came up with a good story while the music was playing.
I told you before about... I contacted Oskar. I called him and booked him for this first recording session. I had never met the guy. I had never seen him. I just booked him for the studio. And then after we made the agreement, went to record, I wrote his name on YouTube. And then Mezzoforte came up. And I thought, oh my God, this is not the guy I heard. This is a totally different guy. I booked some funk saxophonist instead.
I think this is the situation in Iceland. We are that few. And the good thing about it is that you get the chance of playing so many different stuff. So you might be playing an acoustic jazz set one night, and then you're playing a Latin set the next night.
It gives you the opportunity to really learn how to play everything.
Yeah, and it can be a great thing to find your own style, and of course it can mix your head up a little bit.
Here in Denmark, it used to be okay in a way, but now it isn't anymore. To go out and play some dance music and then play some experimental jazz the next day, for instance. How's that?
I think it's still okay in Iceland.
There are musicians who have been doing a lot of that, but they never talk about it.
I mean, I think you are appreciated the way you are in Iceland, in a way that everybody understands that if you want to be a musician, you have to play quite a lot of different stuff to make a living.
Yeah. Well, that was what Duke Ellington did, that was what Armstrong did, that was what Count Basie did.
In the end, music is music, and,
of course.
And great music can be played while other people are drinking and eating at a cocktail session, and bad music can be played in concerts. I mean, there's no one way of doing stuff and one way of judging it.
Now, this recording was, of course, long before your time in Mezzoforte, but we were talking about when it came to America.
Yeah, because I think the Mezzoforte record company sent this single to A&M Music.
Yeah, Herb Alpert's company.
Yeah, exactly, Herb Alpert's company. And Herb Alpert actually played the single on the wrong speed, so it was much, much slower. And he actually loved the song and decided to do his own version of the song rather than putting out the single with Mezzoforte. He thought this would be a perfect thing to do after Rising. That's what he did. And when he actually heard the song on the right tempo, he said, no, this is Mickey Mouse music. I don't like it. So that's the story how Garden Party became like a slow version by Herb Alpert in America.
Back to the new album, Søren.
Yes.
Blinded.
Yeah. Don't put much into the titles.
No.
It's rather difficult to find out some titles for these songs that make sense. So, yeah.
Before we move on to that song, we should maybe mention that there might be some listeners who also saw that or know it. And you were nominated twice for a music award in 2011.
Yeah, that was our prior record, which is called Red Sky.
Yeah. Statens Kunstfond also said something about Red Sky.
Yeah.
It was among the 8 best rhythmic releases that year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That was very nice.
Den skal vi høre lidt fra som det sidste, men vi skal have lidt af den nye plade igen. Vi skal lige have et nummer mere.
Ja.
Og der skal jeg måske lige sige, at det vi har hørt i aften, det skal jeg altså ud og høre i morgen, hvis I kan lide det, fordi det lyder altid bedre live, men det lyder også godt på din plade.
Tak skal du have.
Ja.
Det er et nummer, som starter ud med en klavertrio. Der er jo modsat den sidste plade, så er der klaver med på den her, og det er Simon Toldam. Og så kommer Oskar og jeg på senere. Men det kan I få høre her.
Den kommer her. Søren, den plade, du er ude med her på Gateway Music, den gør du også et fint nummer ud af på din hjemmeside.
Ja.
Som hedder?
Det er mit navn, altså Søren Dahl Jeppesen, og så med O i stedet for. Ja. Altså sorendahljeppesen.dk.
Der ligger der anmeldelser fra tidligere plader og klip med musikken.
Ja.
Der og man kan også købe den på vinylplade.
Det kan man nemlig, ja.
Og så står der noget meget sjovt inde på din hjemmeside. Der står, den koster $10 eller mere.
Ja, det er rigtigt.
Hvordan har køberne så taget imod det budskab?
Jamen, jeg tænker, altså det er en hjemmeside, man kan sælge downloads. Det er jo ret populært for tiden. Ja. Og der kan man selv vælge, hvad den skal sælges til. Og der var der den her mulighed, at man kunne sige en fast pris, eller man kunne sige en pris, og så eller mere. Ja. Og så tænkte jeg, nu prøver jeg at se, hvad der sker, om folk så virkelig betaler mere, om de betaler $10. Og der er faktisk overraskende mange, der gerne vil give mere end $10 for det. Ja. Og det er jo rart.
Jamen det er da fantastisk. Ja. Det må også være kvalitetsstempel.
Ja, det håber jeg.
Men held og lykke med det derude.
Tak skal du have.
Also, thank you for participating here tonight.
Thank you very much.
We will hear your music tomorrow for those of you who are going out there. But we talked about the almost prize-winning album before from last year, Red Sky. Og der slutter vi lige med nogle strofer, havde nær sagt, nogle takter af Almost Home.
Ja.
Den kan selvfølgelig stadig fås derude og udkomme altså for et år siden.
2. Det er 11.
Undskyld. Det er det.
Det er selvfølgelig.
Tak fordi I kom begge to.
Selv tak.
Og når det er færdigt, så skal vi lige tale lidt aktuelle ting ude på scenerne. Og her kommer altså Søren Dahl Jeppesen, Oskar Gudjónsson og Claus Nørgaard, Jakob Højer på denne her.
Ja.
Ja.
Mm-hmm.